The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
I watched the Real Talk yesterday, and when I explain all these concepts and stuff, I know it's quite abstract, but it's so unrelatable. And the reason why it's so unrelatable is because I'm always talking about these concepts and this understanding as if, to me it's just for a big part being able to put my own emotions into words. It's to understand what I'm thinking, how things work, and structure it in my mind. But the thing is that this process, where you really put your feelings into words, your intuition, your way of being, is a process that everybody has to do themselves through understanding your emotions and really conceptualize, put it into words so you understand how you feel this sense of clarity, you trust this understanding. And yeah, if I want to communicate, if I use these concepts, if I use my own understanding, my conceptual understanding, it's not really communication at all. I mean, it's unrelatable. You guys hear these things and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense, but it doesn't speak to your experience. And the question is like, how do I speak to your experience? Because everyone's experience is different, right? Everybody in the chat has their own life, has their own struggles, have their own problems. So how do I relate to an audience of hundreds of people on an emotional, personal level? That's almost impossible. But I said I will give it a try. And I think that a good way of going about it is, rather than speaking to the audience, is to really speak about myself and really explain my own feelings in a sense. And that way you can relate to it. You can more easily relate to it. You can experience what I go through and talk about topics that are really relevant to a lot of people from my own experience with real emotion and also understanding, of course. And I'm going to talk a bit about myself in a non-conceptual way, just, like a friend. I'm just going to be a friend and talk about my own experience and listen to your stories and talk about some of my own stories. And when you guys look at me, I know a lot of people see me as some kind of father figure and see me as someone that really knows everything in life, has it figured out, is really successful, has achieved all these things. It's really almost like, whoa, I want to be like him. Some of you guys really look at me and go like, man, this guy, he once used to be such a good gamer and now he's just this fucking ranting, wannabe cult guru fucker. I mean, everybody has their own mix of feelings towards me. But the reason why I just want to talk about my story is because I come from a very similar place than you guys. I didn't always know so clearly what I had to do in my life. I struggled myself a lot of times in my life. I struggled in relationships. I struggled in friendships. I struggled in figuring out what to do with my life. And even though I don't talk so much about these things, I do think that talking about it can really help you guys relate to my own journey. And as a result, maybe here and there figure out this is really something I can see myself. I can recognize myself in this. And one thing I want to talk about is something I have struggled for a long time in my life. And even now, I do struggle about it quite a bit. Although I would say it's not that present, it's not that dominant, but it's something that I realized that I struggled with. And I just had quite a bit of luck. Because I can imagine if it was a lot worse, I wouldn't even be the person I am now today. And basically it's not being understood. It's the feeling of not being understood. And it's basically experiencing something and expressing it with your limited understanding. And people around you don't understand you. And it is something that even now today, even in this environment, I experience quite a lot. That I have the sense of wanting to do good. And I'm talking about my emotional level, emotionally. I'm not talking so much about my conceptual world, because my understanding and my rationality really allows me to give me this sense of confidence and this sense of structure of knowing what I want and everything. But when I didn't go to my emotional layer and I just allow myself to feel, a lot of the times when I'm in this environment, I feel misunderstood. Just like you guys, I want to do good or I want the best, but no matter how hard I try, people can still see me as this person that is a machine, that is a robot. And how did it get so far? How come I've become this machine? How come people perceive me as much? Even a lot of you guys, when you guys see me, you guys don't see this compassionate guy. You guys don't see this person that has these feelings. You guys see like, this guy just goes about everything logical, and yeah, this is just unrelatable. This is so strange. So how did it come so far that I've really grown into this straight up robot kind of guy that seems to have such little understanding for any feelings, and then as a result really had a narrative towards my audience that was extremely dissonating, you know? And the best way to explain that is to explain where I come from, how I grew up. And I know that being understood and feeling accepted for who you are is such a big need for our own growth, something you guys all experience. But nobody seems to care. And if you grow older and there is nobody that shows you this understanding, or nobody shows you this caring, you grow such a deficit in it that you feel so lonely. You feel so worthless as a human being. And I think that's also for a big reason why people, when they go into streamers and such, and they watch streamers they really feel good with, they can nourish it a little bit, the sense of like having a friend. And I really truly understand if it wasn't for Franco, for example, or Bruno, or like I had quite a few friends in my life. I was really lucky to have quite a lot of good friends in my life. I would have never been able to grow to a point where I am today. And it's not just Franco, it's also Reese. Like when I was really young, it was Bruno, then it was Franco, and then was Reese. Basically, that has really been a very big nourishment for me on an emotional level, even though conceptually I never really gave it the care because I always took everything for granted. Emotionally, I know it was very nourishing because when I talked a lot to Franco, he really gave me the ability to just speak my ideas and opinions and really think with me. Same with me with him. And it really nourished this emotional need of connection. Actually, when I go quite back, friendship was very important to me. It's something I can trust, it's something I can fall back on. It gave me safety. And as time progressed, when I experienced this fulfillment of social nourishment, I grew more into conceptual thinking. And as a result, I could get more safety out of understanding, but I needed to get there. And that's why I sometimes say I would love to be a friend for all of you guys, because I know that with my current understanding, I could be a great friend. I could be, a great listener, and I could also nourish people quite a bit. And I know that it's very hard for me to basically be that person for all you guys singularly, but maybe with these streams, I can create some kind of connection by making you guys relate, and as a result, see that I went through very similar experiences and allow you guys to be in a better spot of dealing with the lack, basically. So to get back to the friendship, like when I grew older, my sense of being understood was very much satisfied by Franco, because we had a lot of talks. I had a lot of group talks with friends when I was younger. And it's so crazy that when you grow older, right? Because I'm explaining how I could get to this robot kind of thing. How come someone with so much knowledge and understanding missed out on all these very obvious things, all these lacks that are omnipresent all around you? How come I didn't see this? Because all these experiences I went through made me take it for granted, made me take friendship for granted, made me take safety for granted, made me take all these things for granted. But if I go back, and I don't even have to say if I put myself in your shoes, if I just see myself when I was younger, if it wasn't for these nourishing experiences, I would have been a very different person. If it wasn't for these needs being satisfied, I would have been a very different person. And what I'm just trying to explain here is that I'm no different than you guys, and that my ability to get where I am now was not the result of some DNA or whatever, but was just because my needs were nourished as I grew older and allowed me to grow into my full potential. And that is something all of you guys can do. And I actually had a talk with one guy here today, and I said like what I used to do, like I can stream and make $500 an hour. And then when I see someone behind their PC working really hard, or in the mines working really hard or whatever, if I go to them and I say, I'm making $500, you making $10, this is worthless because I have more impact than you. Like the problem with that is that what I'm doing is completely first unnecessary, but also it is not true, because the hard work I did in my 1 hour is a lot less hard than what other people do here. Actually, making this $500 is actually quite easy. And you might wonder like, yeah, but what does that have to do with reality? I mean, like you made $500, the other made $10. The thing is though, that is the problem. What I did was I was imposing reality on people. But when it comes down to satisfying your needs and your own potential, it's not about reality. It's about your own growth. And in that regards, you guys are growing a lot more than I do. You guys are accomplishing more than I do. And that is something that is very crazy to hear, because you go like, yeah, but you're saving all these lives. You're having real talks. You like, how can I be accomplishing more than you? Because accomplishment, true accomplishment, is emotional growth. It's not physical growth. And when you realize that, then a lot of you guys right now are already accomplishing more than I do. True emotional accomplishment. And that's the thing, like when you can nourish yourself on an emotional level, you can achieve anything in the world. And it's because that when I went through life, I really got blindsided with everything I got, all the nourishment I got. Even when I go back, when I was a child, like I was always getting the best presents for my birthday, and it was really making me feel so loved and belonged, actually more than any other of my siblings. And I grew to become who I am, not because I was a machine or I was a genius or whatever, but just because my needs were satisfied. Because I could grow into this. I owe it to the growth I've been able to go through. And I know a lot of people when they watch me, they can have these crazy expectations on themselves. Like if I compare myself to you, or if I have this inner critic, this Athene talking to myself, like the bar is set so high, I'm telling you, don't use my bar. Don't use my way of going about life to judge your own growth. What you accomplish is emotional growth. That's where it starts. It's emotional, satisfying your needs. Of course, when you look at the world, you always look at what works. But if you understand that and you get this pure sense of confidence or love or accomplishment from yourself by seeing your emotional growth, by being a witness to it, by experiencing, by allowing yourself, you can actualize yourself and achieve things much more than you would ever be able to do so when you're imposing it to you right now. And of course, when I say these things, this doesn't mean like, okay, so I think what you're saying is like, gotta do self-development now, or meditate, or whatever. Like, it's not because emotional growth is essential for you to reach your full potential that therefore what you do, your reality, is not relevant. And that's the thing, a lot of people sometimes use it as an excuse because it works. But the thing is, if we can truly provide for our needs, in return of being productive within the setting of reality, then you can have a really perfect synergy where you don't experience so much dissonance at all. And that is why for a lot of people, leaving your parents, when you leave your parents and you start working for yourself and take care of yourself, you grow immensely. You grow immensely because you take up the challenge where you take care for your own safety. And that is very satisfying for a lot of people. A lot of people grow tremendously because it doesn't work anymore to just live with your parents. And that's the thing, like we have this emotional tendency to think that whenever our needs are being satisfied, or when we compromise in that regards, that we are better off. We just feel good, whatever. But the thing is that being able to challenge yourself and understanding how emotional growth can really make you grow into your full potential and allow you to take care of your own needs, these kind of things can help you grow so much more in your full potential, and is so much more satisfying, so much more liberating, so much more emotionally stable. But I do understand that these things require trust. You always look at things from what works, but just as much as when you end up leaving your parents to go and live your own life, stand on your own legs, it looks really scary at first. But going through these practical steps where you stop making excuses because you say like this does not work, and you put yourself in a situation where you become more responsible, not because I'm telling you, but because you just know like this is what works, this is better, can emotionally nourish you so much when it comes from yourself. Not because anyone comes and tells you to do it, but because it comes from yourself. Because then you channel it to your own sense of being able to take care of yourself. So you might wonder like, what does it have to do with this robot Athene and this and that, where you talk about your own feelings and stuff? What I'm just trying to explain is that your emotional growth and your needs, and being able to even understand them, because that's a journey on itself. Like if you want to buy a Ferrari or you want to have a nice fancy house, emotionally understanding why you want that can open a new world for you. And that is something you can do right now. You can really sit in your room, lay down, and just emotionally navigate why you do what you do without judging, without fear. And when you experience fear, you just follow it. Why do you emotionally feel like that? And being able to just experience and emotionally navigate why you do what you do, you can learn so much. And if you then are able to put it into words, you can learn so much from just sitting and laying down inside your room. But of course, it's much easier said than done. I mean, having people that talk to you or having people that nourish you can be quite a big help in that regards to guide you through that. But I'm just saying, like, as a friend, it is that process that got me where I am today. It's this emotional nourishment. And this is the best thing I can do from here. It's just making you guys explore it from the point where you guys are. But of course, it's easier if you immediately get nourished, if you immediately get this feedback loop. For example, if you would have a girlfriend, it's much easier to, for example, explore these things when your girlfriend is navigating you, because you have then a strong, your needs are immediately connected with your actions. You get rewarded for it. When I talk about these things, it's much harder to motivate yourself to do these things because your needs seem to not be immediately rewarded. But I can tell you, understanding yourself emotionally and understanding yourself conceptually without judgment, without labeling, can help you guys actualize, or really can help you guys fulfill what you need so much easier. It requires a level of maturity as well. It requires a level of just admitting that excuses don't work, that excuses are merely a way of delaying things. It requires a level of maturity to just be able to say that for yourself. But I'm telling you, if you make the decision like, I don't want to make these excuses anymore, and you just act upon it, not because I'm telling you or I'm calling you out, but no, not because I'm judging, not because you have this inner voice, Athene telling me like I shouldn't, no, just because you realize like, this is not what works, this is not what I want to do. The amount of confidence you can get from that is insane. If you find like, yeah, I should work out because it's more healthy, it's better. The amount of confidence that you can get by saying like, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to allow myself to use an excuse as something that works better and just act, can give you a lot of confidence. And that's the thing, like, I'm fully aware that people do what works all the time. And I'm not judging you either. I'm not saying like that's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong to play video games all day or being lazy or whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to say like the actions, I don't have to tell you they aren't fine. But that doesn't mean that you as a person are not fine. It doesn't mean that you as a person are lazy. It's your actions, and you have the ability to change that. And not because I say it, not because you believe in me. Maybe you can trust me and use that as an initiator, but it is you that is growing. It is you that is the reason for your own progress and growth. The reason why I became a robot was because I took all the emotional growth for granted. And because of that, I was not the best inspiration for you guys. For some people I was, for many I wasn't, because I was creating too much judgment. But I can tell you, you can achieve so much without it, without this judgment, by understanding your emotions and growing into that. I'm gonna tell you guys something else. You guys want relatable? I'll tell you guys some relatable stuff. When I was done with high school, I had to go to university, right? I had quite an idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do good. When I was done with high school, I really wanted to do good. So I think that's already like, it's quite a big achievement to know what you want to do with your life when you're done with high school. And that was because of everything that happened. And I think most people, when they're done with high school, most people don't even know what to do with their lives because they never really reflected on, they never really understood what they want emotionally. They never really explored themselves. They never really thought about that. And I really think that if I could give you guys some tip, like to just lay down in your bed and just emotionally go with what you want, what is it you need, and experience it and try to put it into words. Like this simple exercise can help you guys so much. Same with like when you feel triggered, following your emotion and trying to understand where it comes from can help you guys so much, this emotional journey. But the thing is that I wanted to do good, so I was like, I'm going to do social and political sciences because the best way I can have an impact is by going into politics, right? That's what I thought. And I know this is not going to be the same for everyone, but the situation is the same thing. I have this need, right? I want to do good. Or some people like you guys, I want to be understood. And you hit your face so hard against the wall that you start doubting yourself like crazy. Start wondering like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with my life? Like, I went to social and political science and university was not what I thought it was. It was not. I went to university and it was a nightmare. I was like, but I don't need to, like, I don't understand why this is useful for me. How am I going to do good with this? So I just was tunnel visioning the idea I'm going to have a paper. And with my paper, I'm going to achieve. But then I was also active in politics and I had people there that did political science and social political science. They're like, I got this paper and didn't do shit for me. And I'm like, the fuck am I doing? Like, you don't even need to go into politics and have a paper. So like these constant reality checks made me really question myself quite a bit. Because what I also had was like, if I don't go political science and social science, like what am I else gonna do with my life? How am I gonna do good? So I tried politics. I went into politics and I saw it was really greed, money and power. Like basically what you see in the movies, it's quite accurate. It's actually a bit darker than what you see in the movies, because what you see in the movies is essentialized. When you just see it, it becomes more dry and cool. And this is what you guys are gonna be able to relate to with this story. I was wondering like, but my parents won't take care of me. So what do? I didn't know how to do good, but at the same time, I knew that if my parents did not approve of what I was doing, they would just kick me out. I had to do something productive. I felt like I had to do something productive so I could just, explore how to do good. And I have to admit that my mother has been very understanding in that regards. She has really allowed me to really explore myself. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. But then like, I was just like, okay, what to do? So I did IT. I went to university and I was like, even when I did IT, I was like, but what am I doing? All these fucking courses. So I found a shortcut and I just did night university. Basically, it's a lot less hours and they don't care so much. The degree is not as high as university, but it's very similar. So I just did that. While I was doing that, I was trying to, figure out my life. When I say my life, I was just trying to figure out how to do good. It was quite essential in my life to do good. And I got into a relationship that was also its own craze. But what I'm just saying is like throughout my life, with all the highs and the downs, I've had a lot of doubt myself as well. And the way I managed to overcome these doubts was through my analytical thinking, was through understanding. The only reason why my emotional level, my emotional side was not so much an obstacle in my conceptual actualization, to put it that way, is because it was nourished properly as I grew up. Because I understand a lot of people are even struggling in that, but still thinks self-doubt is emotional, like I wanted to do good, couldn't do, I was wondering what the fuck to do with my life, something a lot of people can relate to. But it's with my understanding that I managed to overcome all these obstacles. Understanding allowed me to start doing good. Understanding allowed me to even get a degree, allowed me to try out stuff. And things worked and things didn't work, but I never was left in the dark because I always had understanding to fall back on. It was very enriching to the point where I just went full analytical understanding because it got me everything. It made me achieve anything I wanted. Breaking world records in World of Warcraft, making $300,000 with poker, more than 300,000. Like my analytical, logical thinking was really what achieved me anything. And as a result, I wanted to help people. I was like, I'm going to spread that. I'm telling on the stream, think analytical, logic, understand. But what I never really understood myself was that all this emotional growth and the self-doubt, I had to overcome that first before I even could get this confidence in my analytical understanding, to put it that way. And it was an emotional process first. And that's why I'm saying like how important it is to emotionally understand where you come from. And that's something I understand now much better than before. And that's why I can even talk about these things. Because before, even a month ago, I would think like, but why would I even explain all this shit? What's the use for you guys to know where I came from or why I was doubting myself or what? No. It's about facts. It's about reality. No. It's about your own emotional actualization. Without it, this clear-mindedness and such is so much harder to achieve. It's about getting these needs satisfied. And understanding emotional and conceptual can help you so much. And I do understand that it makes you doubt, it makes you question. But man, oh man, if you manage to find the faith, to trust it, to go like, yeah, I will try this emotional and conceptual understanding. I will try to see if it can help me. It could help you guys immensely. And as you guys can see in everything I say, like, there is no judgment in the way I speak. When I'm more emotional, relatable, there is no judgment because I'm talking about my own experience. Nobody's perfect. I was just like you guys. I also had doubts. I also had struggles. And I still do. But I really truly found safety in understanding myself and understanding the world.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow the real Athene on Snapchat.